Guys, this is Fight Commentary Breakdowns and very likely going on Fight Commentary Chats. So we have Steven here. Steven's a longtime viewer, probably watched my channel for at least 5 years, I would assume. And I actually covered him back in the day. Unfortunately, that video disappeared from YouTube. But, Steven's had a really cool journey because he's done traditional arts, but he's also fought in the cage and the ring. And in fact, in one of his matches, he put a lot of that Kung Fu stuff to use, man. I saw he had the magical trapping that the Wing Chun guys can never pull off. He actually did some of that. But anyway, Steven, before we get ahead of ourselves, welcome.
Oh, thank you very much, Jerry. Thank you indeed.
So let's first talk about where you're from. Tell me about the accent.
I'm from a small town in England called Barnsley, which is in South Yorkshire. So I have a strong Yorkshire accent. Like the closest I could say in media be Sean Bean in Yorkshire. And I think a lot of like that area in Game of Thrones with Jon Snow and that's kind of very Yorkshire based. A lot of Yorkshire actors there, so they have my accent.
Wow.
I clean it up because if I didn't clean it up, you wouldn't understand me. So I'm thinking every word I say, so I don't go too fast.
I see. So growing up in your area, was there a lot of karate, Taekwondo schools? Tell me about that.
To be quite honest, there were quite a few, but I never really got round into visiting them. My journey started more when I was in college. What happened is I went to college for media, and I started 2 weeks late into college because I went over to the States, to Florida, for a family visit. And I come into college, I've got no friends, no idea what anybody is. And there's this big meathead lad called Dean, and he's walking around with like a bag with UFC on it. I didn't know what that was at the time. And he invited everybody in that class to like come and train with him. And no one had took him up so far. I'm like, I've got no friends here. I was quite skinny as well. So I didn't have much of a fight in me. Like, I've got to make a decent friend here, so that if anything goes bad or wrong, I've at least got this fella on my side. So do you want to come? I said, what? It's MMA. What's MMA? I'll show you, pal. So I jumps in with him. I says, right, no worries, we'll find a gym, your local gym. And I did. I went and I got my head kicked in because this is like the old school days. We're talking like early 2000s.
So they beat you up hard, man.
Oh, they kicked my bottom, I guess. And from there, he like took me to like Muay Thai gyms, and he took me to Jiu-Jitsu gyms and stuff like that. And it went into like I broke off with him when we made a separate ways. Where I started doing the more traditional stuff, and I think that helped a lot because my introduction to martial arts was you got it. And that was it. That was the School of Hard Knocks, doing Muay Thai in Wicker Camp in Sheffield. You took a good punch to the face, and that's how I saw martial arts. So it keeps you grounded.
Yeah. Wow. That's so interesting that you kind of got started with the combat sports aspect, and then you slowly started exploring the traditional martial arts on top of that. So tell me about that. When in your journey, when you were sort of going from that first MMA friend to the Muay Thai gyms to when you started stepping into, let's say, Kung Fu schools and stuff like that?
It started out more with Taekwondo.
Oh.
Mainly because I was going to the Muay Thai gym, which was in Sheffield. I didn't have a driver's license at the time, and I lived in Barnsley, which was about 30 minutes on a train, and then a 30-minute walk to the gym, and then a 30-minute walk back. And then half an hour on train, so it was just taking too long.
Yeah, that sounds like that was like my capoeira journey. Too long though. Yeah, but anyways, you go ahead, man.
No. But so I no longer had Dean who were like taking me there, and I was like, I still want to study martial arts, but it's too far. So what's local? And what I found local was like a Taekwondo gym, which. Yeah, I just took it up. My friend Dean actually warned me against it because this was still back in the day where I think quote unquote no spinny stuff was the name of the game. You did MMA, you're doing Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and maybe some catch wrestling, and that were it. So I went in there with quite a wary mind, but it wasn't too bad, I guess. There's still it was WTF, so they still had that kind of going on for it, like a lot of what I call suicide moves.
The ones where they fall to the ground and stuff if they don't land it.
I think it's more like when they do the jumping spinny stuff and then they stand there with their face like wide open like this.
Oh.
Boom, boom, boom.
Oh my
Nope.
goodness.
That's what you usually see on your videos, mate.
Yeah.
Someone does like a big spinny kick, lands it like he's expecting someone to like to hold a pull-up card going 10, 9. And because he's used to that, like you normally like Taekwondo, you do that and then they stop you and go right back in the middle. When it comes to actual proper fighting, that's not stopping. They go,
Yeah.
oh, it's not stopped. And what's that? Boom.
Jeez. So it sounded like it was a school that had sparring.
Yes, yeah, they had sparring, which were great for it, at the very least. But like I say, we're very controlled. They did another kickboxing style there called Ankuk Mudo,
Oh.
and I took that up as well. That it was kickboxing, but you could only use the back of your hand.
Oh. Okay.
So it was kind of weird. So yeah, usually it's like weird back fist things, and a lot of it were very points based, like semi-contact. Yeah,
Wow.
you landed a
So
hit and it stopped.
uncool cool dough. I'm gonna look this up. I want to search this up and maybe find more videos of it later. Wow. So all types of kicks, but only back fists.
Yeah, obviously no leg kicks either.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Weird coming from a Thai gym to that because that's how I start fights.
Yeah.
That's my introduction. We go in there, first thing I'm doing is throwing a leg kick at you because it's the most effective kick in my eyes.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So, did you stay long enough to get belts and stuff, or were you kind of like, not really?
I got to as far as to get a yellow belt there, which was the
Mhm.
first like rank there, and then what it was is life just pulled me away because I started working away from home. My old man came to me. I was initially going in the Navy, you see, but my old man said, "Do you want a job where you don't get shot?" Yeah, I'll take that. So he got me working with his firm as a construction worker, and I was travelling down to the Midlands, and obviously I had to keep up my Taekwondo, but I didn't want to give up martial arts. I enjoyed martial arts, so what I did then for a good few years was just wherever the job landed, I would seek out the nearest martial arts gym, regardless of really what it was, and train it. And sometimes you got the good, sometimes you got the bad, and sometimes you got something you could take from it.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's why we've talked all these years because I think that's very similar to kind of how I approach things. It's like I'm not going to dismiss anything flat out, right? So if there's something near me, why not check it out? Who knows?
You know, I was still in that phase back then as well, where it was, if you're not sparring and you're not doing like full contact stuff, it were useless. I still had that in the head. I almost had a bit of a patronising head on me at the time, even though I was learning it. And I think as I grew older, more mature, and I think as the internet grew more mature about it, because like I said, this was still in the heyday where like we were still realizing that Wing Chun couldn't do what he said on the tin. But the more that got exposed and the more gyms started evolving as well, I got more of an open-minded look to it and thinking, yeah, maybe they don't have full contact sparring, but does that really mean that none of this stuff can be useful? And so what I started doing when I got a bit more serious, which was only a few years ago, to be quite honest, because I had a big drop off due to the fact that my work went up to the sticks of Scotland and there was no gyms.
Mm.
So when I started training MMA with my coach Daryl, who's my current coach now, I'd still be working away and then coming back on a weekend for sparring. So I'd pick up wherever which way I'd learned, whatever silly Wuxia style move I'd learned, and gone, right, let's see if I can work it in sparring against like a cage fighter. And that was my approach to it. Like, I mean, some won, some lost. And sometimes we're able to even Daryl would laugh at some of the stuff I were doing, but you've never criticized me for it. He just kind of laughed. Steven's doing his Kung Fu stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. You were the one that told me you kind of stumbled on Ma Bao Guo, the Tai Chi master, right? Was that you that told me about it?
Tai Chi Master.
Okay, it wasn't you. Okay, it's someone else.
Doubt it round here. I did do some Tai Chi for a very, very little bit, but it was more the stuff you'd see in the park type stuff, not the. Apparently, there's like a combat style to Tai Chi, which I've never seen as much, but maybe online. But this one more like the meditative stuff. You used to do it
Yeah,
afterwards.
I see. So tell me about the first Kung Fu gym you stumbled on. Was it a Wing Chun gym or was it something else?
Was a Lao Ga gym
Oh,
in Birmingham,
wow.
middle of Birmingham. It was. I almost stumbled on it by accident because I was just looking for some kickboxing, and they were teaching PKA kickboxing at that gym.
Mm-hmm.
And alongside it, they started teaching Lao Ga. So, I thought, I'm working away from home. There's not else for me to do other than go to the pub and get drunk after I finish work. So, hey, I'll take the Kung Fu classes up as well.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, it was a really good Kung Fu gym because they had that kickboxing attitude to them. I know that there was still some like the stances were very different from kickboxing, and they had some like very kung fu style like of training with it, but there's
Mm-hmm.
still this attitude that you've still got to punch someone in the face for it to work, or at least experience getting punched in the face for it to get work for it to work.
That makes sense, and it's cool. When you told me about the school, I actually looked them up. They're still around. So, Lao family Hongjia, so Hongar, Lao family Hongar, Birmingham. That's pretty cool. And Lao
Yeah,
is actually the Cantonese way of saying my last name too. So they have my same last name. That's pretty funny.
the fella's name was a Sifu Simon Shepherd, I
Oh,
believe.
yep. That's still the email. It's a Simon guy. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Ah, that's
he was
cool.
yeah. I trained with that guy, and he was some guy who actually taught me some Wing Chun as well because it was part of their curriculum. And
Mhm.
again, what helped with him was he had a very realistic idea of how it worked. He wasn't trying to paddle me that it was some sort of like death touch type stuff or uh, illegal moves type. No, no, he had these guys sparred and they also competed in the semi-contact world, which is better than nothing for most kung fu gyms, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot of the hand trapping really from him. Not
Yeah.
else because of the Wing Chun aspect of his thing. And then, like I say, a few years later, I took it back to, and it just became part of my style, almost second nature. I wasn't even there that long, but I kind of pick up on stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when I first found you, it was the construction sparring, right? Tell me about the construction sparring. Where was that along your journey?
Oh, that was quite early on. I put on quite a bit of weight at that point as well. Like, it was after the PKA stuff, but it was during that long gap between where I did not any martial art because I either really high in the sticks of Scotland or down, oh, pardon me, down in Hastings where there
Mm-hmm.
wasn't much anywhere to do. Pardon me again. Uh, but we got two lads down there who are southern lads, and they were also kickboxers. So we would have had a bit of like rowdy, macho type. It's a construction site with construction workers. It's just like how it is. And he mentioned he did some kickboxing, some boxing, and I said, well, I did as well. And he's like, we need to get our gloves up, and we need to sort this out, like to see who's like King Alpha on this side. And even my engineer at the time who were in charge were like, listen, lads, Friday we got like a concrete pour going on. Yeah. After that, there's not much for you to do. If you have this fight and let me film it, I'll let you go home a bit early. So both looked at each other and went, let's do it. Now, it was that the gentleman Ross who was insistent on the headgear. I'd never used headgear before outside the Taekwondo stuff, so normally I'm used to having my face all open. And because I'm on his home turf, he's got the chance to like change into like shorts and trainers and stuff. And I'm there in like boots with literal concrete feet at this point and a set of overalls. I'm
I
just
remember.
like
I remember.
getting in the way all the way through it. So I'm blind because I'm not used to wearing egg gear, and it does take your peripheral vision out when you first start, like before you get used to it. I mean, full clad of like 4 layers of clothing on me and big old Wellington boots, which are full of concrete, and trying to fight this kid who was about this big on uneven terrain. We had a good laugh. I caught him a good one near the end when I was getting like bounced into trees. And then we decided to call it, and then that was that. We didn't see each other much after that, but still, it was quite fun. And I've done that a few times before, just not always recorded. Sorry, a few times afterwards. Like there's always somebody on site who knows a bit of boxing. They go, oh, you know some boxing or kickboxing and stuff, don't you, Steve? Like, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
You want to get some gloves on and go for it? Yeah.
So
No
it's
problem.
interesting because it sounds like in your journey you've been doing competitions, right? So when you started showing us some of your like MMA and kickboxing stuff, that wasn't your first time. Like you were doing it because you said PKA, so you were doing it way before too.
Yeah. I never competed in PKA, but well, sparring it. I mean, I never got to point of competing with it. I got to orange belt while we're there, but still, I did the sparring with him and that, and then kind of moved on. The competition stuff, well, mainly like just worksite stuff, like the stuff that people usually talk about, like the street fight. But I have proof. I won't say anything I don't have proof about. If I'm claiming something, there's footage.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me about when you officially stepped into the ring or officially stepped into the cage. Like, tell me about that. When did sort of like what drove you to do it? Slash, tell me about the thinking, the experiences, etc.
Well, there's two ones I did. The one which was like the Interclub, which is more like really advanced sparring. Like it's more what we call amateur rules back in day, but these days our amateur rules are semi pro because we don't have a semi pro circuit anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I'll tell you what it is, Jerry. I was embarrassed about calling myself a martial artist because I hadn't competed. And in my head, I feel like I felt in me, I haven't proved it. Like I've talked about it for so long. I've said I can do this and do that, but I've never proved it. Like to like a proper crowd. So I had an epiphany one day. One, I gained a lot of weight as well. A lot of weight. I'd gone to a depressive state. COVID hit England, and it just hit me one morning when I talked to my coach and went, "What fight weight do you reckon I would be best at?" He got me onto his mate who does all the diet and nutrition stuff. Says, "Stephen, look at your geometrics or whatever it is on your phone." When I went on that specialized weight pad or whatever it is, says, "You're about 77. You're a welterweight, mate. Sound, but you currently weigh like 102 kilograms. You need to get down to 77."
Wow.
Yeah. So if you can get down to 77, I'll get you a fight going. So I went for it. I put my diet up. I was waking up on the morning, first thing on the morning, jogging, and going to a full-time job, going to work, coming back home, straight to the gym, eating a really good diet. And I got me sent down there. Then, like I said, I got to that Interclub. And the fellow I fought, initially one of my other camp members were meant to fight, but he'd started getting the jitters and started throwing up. Because he fought someone before him as well. So I stepped in and had a go at him, and I got him with a Kimura in second round, which was quite great.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I did a kickboxing fight on the same day against some lad. I think the only problem with them is there were no because it were an Interclub, and unless you pretty much submitted them, there were no win or lose. Mm-hmm. He didn't go down points, just kind of went to a draw, but I think I had a good crack at him as well. Yeah. His camp was quite, I don't know how to say this, almost like the Cobra Kai clan, all the way through, we're watching them and they're just showboating and doing really sneaky stuff. And first thing he does is I hold my hand to touch gloves, he throws a kick straight at me. Yeah, mate, come on.
Yeah.
Round one, I gave to him. But I was just sizing the guy up. He was like throwing everything at me. I was just sizing him up. Round two, I just went, hey, I know his range. I know his game is. Came out, and then I started putting the pressure on. And I think round three, that was mine. Like I hit him just after Bell had gone, sadly. And he took offence at that and took a good clean swipe at me while the ref were taking us away. Did nothing. Hit me with his hard. He shot like an overhand swing after three attempts at it. He hit me straight clean on, and I didn't even notice he hit me till after footage. He didn't even move me. It just like backs off like, oops. But my first official, like on the cards one, that were the one which got recorded and put on YouTube, were against big old Tommy Galbraith.
Yeah, exactly. The Tommy one was very unique in that you saw Steven here use a lot of his past training. Like there were moments you looked Taekwondo, especially the third round. There were moments you definitely looked Hungar, right? I thought it was Wing Chun, but now that I know that you trained Hungar, so you looked Hungar. So like that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, over the years, that's how my style is. I still fight that way now whenever I'm sparring. And I went up. I'll tell you another interesting fact about the fight with Tommy. I thought I was going to lose all the way up to it, all the way up to even like walking there. I was having trouble at home at the time, and my training has like dropped downhill. I was trying to make it there, work what keep getting in the way. I thought, I'm just not prepared for this fight. I even went to Daryl, my coach, and said, Daryl, I don't think I'm prepared for this. I don't think I've trained enough. I mean, I keep letting you down now. I felt upset about it. And he said, listen, if you have to call it, but come back to me in the morning with an answer. And I told my two brothers, Mason and Mark, and they just taught me into it. Says, listen, just go for it. I says, I know it's easier for me to say that, but just go for it, mate, and see how it goes. At least if you get in that cage, win or lose, you're a warrior either way. So I fought on it, and I went, right. Well, what's up, sweetheart? 2 minutes, Jerry. It's George asking for 2 biscuits.
So tell me, did you train your jiu-jitsu for the fight? Because, you know, at the third round, he got you on the ground, but you were eventually able to wiggle out of it, stand up again. So tell me about that part.
Right. I'm famously in my gym. I shouldn't even say this because just in case anyone ever scouts this for a future fight, but my grappling is not my strongest point. Really isn't my strongest point. I mean, I've got the catch wrestling training, I've got the Brazilian jiu-jitsu training, but it's if I'm fighting, I'm striking. I'm a striker. That's where most of my journey's been, is striking. So we had the game plan. Daryl and Grant Hennersby was my jiu-jitsu coach. Don't go to the floor, Stephen. Do not go to the floor. So what we did is, for the entirety of like training for that fight, was trained, take down defense, and just recover it. So everything, like you probably noticed, not in that once in that fight, I'll go for a takedown. Every time it's just preventing. So we just did it for ages, just like with a different. I'd sit in gym and we'd just have different people coming at me, and they'd all try and do a takedown. I'd just stuff it and then move on to another person. All the way through rounds of like jiu-jitsu was just stuffing takedowns. And if I got on ground, I wasn't going to attempt anything. I would just get out of it. And it just fished into my head like so much that once it finally managed to take me down, I'm just sat there like, I got him a really crap half guard first, and I'm almost scared because I'm like, this guy gets on top, he's a big guy, he's going to kill me. If he starts raining blows, I'm buggered. So I sat there, there's a massive gap there. There's like a big old gap between me and his other way, so I just like kind of shift in and swim out. Yeah. And first thing I do is like, hey, I might get an armbar here. So I grab all these arm, like thinking, I've got an armbar. And it's like, he's putting too much of a struggle up, like, nope, not going to risk it. Just let him up and get back up and think, you know what, you can come back into my realm, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what's interesting about this, so besides being bigger than you, was Tommy the favorite? I mean, you thought you were going to lose, right? So Tommy likely was the favorite even among the crowd?
I'd have thought so, because like you were a big fella as well, like a tall fellow, former bare knuckle boxer. So
Oh.
yeah,
So
he was the
he's a
same.
former bare knuckle boxer. That do you think his grappling was catch wrestling, or did he do wrestling or jujitsu? What do you think his grappling was?
He was shoot wrestling
Oh, he was a shoot wrestler. Wow.
because he comes from his camp is Sheffield Shoot Fighters.
Oh, Sheffield shoot fighters. Wow. This is cool. I'm saving all these locations up. There it is. Sheffield shoot fighters. Oh, okay. I see.
So
Wow. Okay, so
his gra-
they train jujitsu. Let's see what other classes do they have. Okay, so they train like MMA, striking, and jujitsu. Okay, I got
yeah,
it. Wow, that's so cool, man, dude. I love it because people like to get mad at people like you and I because we're calling out the traditional arts. But I'm telling you, you show more traditional arts in your sparring, and I think I do too. Like because we like to test, right? And we just can't stand the people that give us essays or. I one time I think I told you this. I met up with the YKS. YKS is Yuan Qishan. They're a more legit Wing Chun branch, at least historically. Not now, but historically they're more legit Wing Chun branch. And the guy just spent like 3 or 4 hours showing me stuff, but he will never ever glove up and like test it against other people. He'll test it against other Wing Chun people, but it's like that's the type of behavior we don't like, and it's like that stuff deserves just a little bit of call out, man. You know, of course YouTube's changed, so we're not gonna be like really cursing at them, but still, they deserve a little bit of constructive call out.
where I say it is, how do you know? How do you know? Do you know? And maybe it's not too bad with like kickboxing arts and Muay Thai because they do like they are the school of hard knocks when it comes to that. But when you look at something like a traditional martial art and all you're testing it up against is like Wing Chun versus Wing Chun, and it's such a limited, like yeah, very limited rule set.
Yeah,
How do you know it's going to work?
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's what gets me. Like, and yeah, I know that there's always the argument there that MMA also has its rules and stuff, and some Wing Chun stuff can't work here. But your foundation should have enough basics in it that you can fight without them rule breakings.
Yeah.
And but I see it is, and why I think that if you do a traditional martial art and you want to make sure it works, you should go down to an MMA gym and don't be like arrogant about it, but let me spar.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's the best pressure testing you're going to get. If you're an all-round striker, like a karate guy, you're going to find weaknesses in your art you never thought were there.
Yeah.
If you're an all-round grappler, you're going to find weaknesses in your art that you thought was never there. You're going to see, like I say, you're going to like leg kicks and stuff like that. You might never considered it. The big thing when I was training Taekwondo not long back, because I started Taekwondo again down in Coventry while I was working away. And they were ITF, so they were more like a kickboxy type, which much better than the WTF I was training. But their big gap was they're not prepared if you grab the legs. Now, it's against the rules, and I got told off for it a few times, but you grab the legs and they don't know what to do after that. And it's like, you're an art that's primarily kicking. You've not developed a defense for something that's going
That's
to be the main logical
standard.
weakness of it.
Exactly. A person who doesn't know how to kick, if you kick them, they're probably going to try to grab your legs.
Yeah, you should know. Even if it's banned in competition, you should know what to do if I grab your leg.
Yeah.
You know, like drop your leg down to like pull it out or twist yourself around or even like pull yourself in. Anything.
Yeah.
But instead, it's that there's that weakness there that you're not filling that gap up.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank goodness. So, kind of like you, but I got it out of my way in school where sometimes I was just like engaged in these fights or, like spar. I was just, be a wild kid, right? So, not on the construction field, but in school. And I remember one time, he was a really cool dude, but obviously he was a black kid from the hood. So, like if you hit him wrong, you're going to see him change, right? And I just remember one time we were just playing around. And of course, being the Kung Fu guy, I get my leg caught. So like, I caught your leg. What are you gonna do? And I don't know what to do, right? So I remember because I was watching pro wrestling the night before, and I saw the guy come over and kick with the other leg. So I try that, right? I get airborne. I even kick him with the other leg. But of course, since I've never practiced that, I almost face plant because both my legs are in the air and one of them's caught, right? But thinking as I caught myself, so I braced my fall, and like everyone watching thought that was so cool. They're like, "Oh my God, Jerry's so cool!" But now he's got an advantage, and then he stacks me. He's like, "Yeah, Jerry." Like when I kicked him with the other leg, showing off, like you could tell he changed. He went into hood mode. He almost like, but thinking as he controlled himself. His name was David, and I remember like I thought about that later. I said, "Wow, dude." Because he stacked me, he had me on the ground. If he got mad, he could have started pounding me. So like, thank goodness we can learn from like immature just guys horse playing, and that's why I'm telling you guys like this is my one point where sometimes when YouTube gets too strict on this stuff, like it's not good. Like guys need to get that horse playing out of their system before they become dads or before they become adults, right? You gotta learn fundamentals about these things. I was like, that's why so many of these stupid fights happen, like these world star hip hop fights, is because these people don't get out of their system earlier in their life or in safe environments like in the gym.
That and they don't know enough about fighting to know how little they know about fighting. That's my main thing when I look at things like that is, especially when people are doing, you've got two camps when it comes to like even street fighters, right? And anybody who watches like fighters and goes, I can take him, even though they've got no training in whatsoever. And it's like the problem is, mate, you don't know enough to know how little you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same principle applies to people that do like wishy-washy martial arts and the traditional stuff we aren't ever testing it is, yeah, there's two types of dangerous people in the world, those who know nothing and those who think they know everything, if you know what I'm saying. They're both equally dangerous in their own parts.
Yeah.
So you've got one camp who doesn't know enough to know what he's saying is stupid because he's never trained in his life. And you've got one camp who's been handed to his entire life, who thinks he knows more than what he actually does. And that's why it's scary when like they discover this mid-fight and it happens on both fronts. You see it on your videos plenty of times. Some street fighter comes in because he's showing off and thinks, I could take him. I could walk into this boxing gym against a guy who does 60 hours a week doing nothing but train how to punch people in the face. I could take him. I've watched Rocky a few times. Comes in, gets bouncing around the place, and you always see when that first punch they get, that first clean hit lands, should I say. And it's hilarious to watch because it's like it's hit him in slow motion. It's like that scene from Kung Pao says that it was at that moment I realised I made a really bad decision.
Yeah.
And this happens when you get some like traditional Kung Fu guy who's also never been punched in the face before. He walks in there, he does his spinny stuff and all that, thinking, he's playtime and it's going to be like a Jackie Chan movie, and he gets punched in the face and he just stays there for a second going, oh God, I'm in a fight. Yeah. I'm going to die.
Jeez. Yeah. Another reason too, just you gotta let boys be boys, right? The first time I got hit really hard in the face, I was in first grade. It was in China. So like I've known since first grade what it's like to really be hit in the face to the point where like the world spins a little. Like, and I'm not saying that's the right way to raise a kid, but if a kid is that wild, the kid needs to know early on there's consequences. And then hopefully the kid grows up, makes smarter decisions. But now just how our world is, it's just like if you fight in school, you're probably expelled now. I don't know how it was. Like I fought in school a few times, but one time I got caught fighting in school. I got suspended, and I'm like, dude, it's just a fight, man. Like why do you punish them more? They already have pain getting into a fight. You punish them more.
Well, I grew up with two brothers, roughly the same age as me. My younger brother's a year below. My older brother's like 2 years above. So we always had that anyway. I'm from somewhere called Worsborough Common in Barnsley, which is a very rough neighbourhood. And it's not rough as in like in the States where you shoot one another because we haven't got access to that. So you just punch each other out. So it was common to like getting fights, to be fair, and hang around in like little gangs. And
Wow.
this was before we all do shoot. These days, people just stab one another around here, which is crazy.
Yeah, I
But
heard knife violence is crazy in the UK now.
yeah, it is. It's crazy. Back when I was a kid, we just punch one another. Then eventually that was how it was. I mean, and to be fair, it might have rubbed off because a lot of the lads who I used to hang about with are now boxers. Now, most of my mates are now boxers, and I've been doing the rounds in the boxing circuit. So I think it keeps you grounded. I think just taking a punch to the face and realizing how much it damn hurts.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah, exactly.
it out of your system fast.
Yeah.
There's no wrong with having a fight. It's just as long as you're not when you're not doing it as adults. Kids fighting. It's one of them. You go on bruised and battered, and you come back. You gain a little bit more respect for one another, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Adults, they hit the back of their head on pavement, and it's a manslaughter case.
Yeah. Whew. Tell me about your journey now. What are you training in now?
Currently, not a great deal because I just moved from back up north for a little job up on the north end. But by the time we were finishing work, because we had a lot of crunch to do, there was no time for training. But I recently got promoted into like an high position in work, but it also means I'm going back down south for the foreseeable future. So what I'm going to hope to do is, when I get to that site, I'm going to find the nearest gym and I'm going to train again.
Nice.
The last thing I did train was something called Chowling Fist, but I didn't train for very long. In a little place, again in Coventry, I believe it was, or Tamworth. It was in a place called Tamworth. I trained it for the one lesson. I hope to actually go back to it. It was quite fun. They're not fighters, but sometimes, just to go on another little tangent here, right, it's a kind of annoying me that my light keeps flashing my nose up because I have a big gold nose and it's just like the light bulbs up there because at renovation I haven't got a lampshade. There's another aspect to martial arts as well. It's you don't need to be a fighter. So long as you're honest with yourself. If you want to go to like a Taekwondo place or Kung Fu place and a karate place or whatever you want to do, if you want to go there, right, and you're doing it just because you think it looks cool and it's something to pass your time, the evening time, go for it.
Yeah, agreed.
Don't let anybody tell you, because sometimes I get annoyed with people online that are actually combat fighters or combat sports students. They just want to rag on some bloke doing like a kata or something going, well, that's never going to work in a cage. Maybe it's not, but is he hurting anyone? Is he trying to say he's going to beat someone up? Leave him to it. He's enjoying himself. He's not hurting anyone, literally. So I want that message to be clear to people because I feel like there's a bit of a stigma for that these days.
Agreed.
That you're not allowed to train anything that isn't completely practical. If you want to do something because it looks cool, do it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I started doing capoeira, people were like, why are you doing capoeira? Like, because it looks freaking cool. I've always wanted to move like Eddie Gordo, so why not? I'm not going to say I'm a bad ASS, but I want to do capoeira. And then it's like, then there's also the aspect, there are some things you can incorporate into your existing fighting, right? Just like what you've been doing all your life, Steven. Everything you train, you try to pick something that you can incorporate. But again, exactly, I second and I back up exactly what Steven says. If you want to learn like a 720 kick, do it. That's really cool. It looks really cool. Do it.
You go press your mates. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Even like the Kung Fu stuff. I love watching that kind of stuff where they're like just like doing like chaining spin kicks and doing that really slow stuff. Where like that was badass.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I agree.
And I do feel there's like a stigma there, and it annoys me every time I see it. Like a message comes up on one of those saying, "Oh, you tried that in the cage." He probably doesn't want to. He's probably got no intentions of.
No.
As long as you're not going there saying like the few people you say sort of feature on your channel where they go, "No, I can actually beat you up with this." Then it's like, stop deluding yourself, mate.
Yeah. Exactly.
Don't
It
look
sucks
cool,
because despite all of this, unfortunately, even now in the comment section, there's still a few people making the same excuses. It's like, have you watched like all these fights these years, these past like 10 years? It's like, so I get the frustration, but I also get it. Like, there's quite a lot of people who just want to do a cool sport, do a cool art. It's okay, do it.
Oh, but what gets me about the comment section is when it comes to them kind of fakes, is that wasn't the real Wing Chun.
Oh my!
Somebody show me the real one.
I just had a Wing Chun video, right? The cool viewer from Vancouver who tried his Wing Chun. He didn't do too well, but he pulled off a few cool things, right? And everyone in the comments like, that wasn't real Wing Chun. And thank goodness Street Beef Scrapyard left the comments. I just pinned him. I'm like, okay, all of you that say you can do better, go to he's right there. Contact Street Beef Scrapyard. Go.
Gary, I've made the same comments on videos as well. The same comments, because it frustrates me as well. I sat there thinking, you guys are criticising this fellow who's just jumped in that cage or that ring or wherever else. Might have gotten beaten. That guy's got more balls than any one of you. Yeah. That bloke stepped up. What you done? Show me. Yeah. Send me a video. Send me a video description showing me you fighting someone like that. Yeah. Not one of your students who's put some like boxing gloves on and you're pretending he is. Right? An actual person what I can verify and look him up and say, yeah, he's done it before.
Yeah.
It won't. Yeah. This fella's a hero, man. He fair enough. His stuff wasn't up to snuff, but he got out there and tried it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That takes amazing amount of bravery.
Yeah.
People jump on like, oh, he didn't do this. He didn't use this technique. Mate, you wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
You've been in there and tried it.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't do any trapping. Well, he learned that it's hard to do trapping. That in itself is a good lesson. It's like people are criticizing it.
Trapping's hard. You know what I find best for trapping? Is using a long guard. That's how I can trap so well.
Yeah, I can tell in that fight you did with Tommy. You had that. In fact, I was going to mention, and sometimes you put your hand on his forehead a lot of times.
Yeah, just it should be back to be quite honest. But that's how I can trap is because I've got a long guard. And why is that trapping easier? Because it takes longer for his punch to get to my face. If I'm up here trying to do it, well, for one, if I'm that close, might as well just clinch. Well, why am I messing about going like this? I'll just clinch up and start doing that. But when you're like this and like how they try and do it, is the time that punches come to your face, it's already hit. So I keep a long guard because.
Yeah, exactly. Time. Look at the range of area versus the stupid Wing Chun Wunsho, as they call it, right? Mansao, they call it. Like, what can you block here? Like, yeah. But of course, other branches of Wing Chun that are not MMA will be like, yeah, this is all. That's why we're like this, you know.
Yeah, I keep it like an hand here. Sometimes I drop mine. Sometimes it's just silly, but. For me, I see it as like I can see better for my kicks, and I've got almost a bit of head movement, so I'm not going to just like eat shots. But I swear by the long guard.
Yeah,
I love it. That's that. I know for a full well fact that's roughly about just out of punching range. I know if I've got you like that, I can sort of like move and maneuver and move your hand that way, and it's them little circles I do. It's part of my trapping. If you're that close, I can kick you, and I like kicking.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's funny because when I got back into Muay Thai before, mentally I sort of lost it this year, but I started adopting that kind of Muay Thai this thing, and I was like, this is surprisingly helpful because again, you have all this area here, right? To get into your punch range, they have to go through this, and I'm like, wow, just a little bit of change, kind of like how you started doing the long guard and everything. Sometimes that's all it takes, man. That's all it takes to get the start to do it right. And then you get the Wing Chun people. You and I can rant about that for a while.
No, yeah, but the other difference between you and I ranting about it is we're not ranting from how do I say this? We've at least experienced it. Yeah, we're not just ranting out of the blue out of something I've watched on YouTube. But we and you have been there. And we've learnt from it.
Yeah.
We also give benefit to the doubt. Like I say, Wing Chun trapping isn't bad, but it needs the foundation behind it, and it lacks the foundation.
Yeah.
I think every person should learn how to box if you're going to do stuff like that, because boxing will give you a damn good foundation,
Yeah.
but none of them do. So
Yeah.
even like Taekwondo guys, learn to box. Even if you're never going to like use the punches, at least this, just knowing how to do
Yeah.
this is like
Yeah. Yeah.
million. It just improves your game altogether. Yeah, if the long guard don't hit, you can like at least don't stand with their head like this
Yeah. Yeah.
to
Exactly.
move your head.
Yeah. Yeah. It's.
Unless you're stupid like me and can tank shots.
Oh man, yeah. The thing that I think I will emphasize from what Steven said is learn some boxing or learn some kickboxing first. It's if you want to feel like you can like pull this off in a non just show off or have fun or exercise environment. At least concurrently do some boxing or do some kickboxing. It really will help you put it in the right paradigm.
It gives you a realistic idea of what's going to go down. You get a good kickboxing base. Like take up, I mean, my primary style is like Dutch kickboxing, so like K1 style. I don't do as much Muay Thai now. Mine's mainly that stuff. But even so, it gives you a really good base. You know about leg kicks. You know about someone's going to grab you. You know about jabbing and crossing and hooks and head movement. And because you know all that stuff, then you can play with all the little cool stuff you're doing. And sometimes it's more effective than what you might learn in the kickboxing. But it might just be that one thing that's more effective. At least if anything goes wrong, you've got a foundation to drop back on.
Yeah.
Good saying I've always go by is, in order to break the rules, you must first learn them. Learn the rules of combat, and then start breaking them. You know, when you first start learning to do kickboxing, you like they keep you like this, and that's all you're doing, and that's your basics. You're doing your basics first, and then when you start getting comfortable and they realise that you can do your basics, then you'll be like, yeah, you can drop your head a bit. We know you can dodge. It's same. Once you've got them basics behind you, because worst case scenario, you get punched in the face, you can drop back to basics.
Exactly. When it gets over that's like anyone watching, like Steven says something great. Like if you don't learn to be like this, then you try anything, you get hit or the pressure's coming, you don't know what to default back to, right? And when you default back to this, usually you're more protected than panicking or doing whatever. So you gotta have this as okay, if things get too tough, this is my all right, but okay, I feel a little confident. I'm out here. I'm doing whatever. I'm here even.
I mean, I had one of the best, probably the best kickboxing instructors in England, which is a guy called Mick Crossland from the Combat Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And that what is like saying to us, you learn this first. I don't want to see any daft head movements. I don't want to see anybody trying to play like they're Floyd Mayweather until you've got this. Yeah. He also taught me the reset button, which is when things are going bad for you, just tap your head.
Ooh.
That's your reset button. That never happened. Tap your head. That's it. But it says it don't matter what your reset button is, but just have something just to like get you back in the game and like.
I like that. That's a really good tip, guys. Steven's dropping some gems here because I've heard traditional guys say have a safe word, right? But that's not effective because when you're fighting, you don't really think vocally as much. So I like this. Have a physical thing that's like just something that's a muscle memory. So okay, you get hit or whatever. Okay, all right, reset button.
Yeah. Reset. Just reset yourself, and then like. You're trying to like think, right, whatever happened 10 seconds ago didn't happen. You're now still back to basics.
Yeah.
Reset, back to yourself, keep your original guard up and stuff like that. And once you've got out that danger zone where you've got your head back in the game, you can get back to doing what you were doing.
That's
awesome. Dropping some wisdom. Yeah. I didn't know real wisdom, but it's just how I've been taught over the years.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it, man. I love it. Wow. So, I mean, it sounds like... So, the last question I have for you, Steven, is it sounds like you move around a lot. Is the goal eventually, let's say you find a place that you are both happy job-wise and let's say there's a good gym, you're going to settle down? Or do you think you're going to be moving around for a while?
I think it's always going to be... That's just a game I'm in. That's just a trade. I'm, currently as of next after the new year, I'm a site manager. But before I was like a site foreman for a construction company, and construction companies tend to go where the work is. So I'm hoping with being like before I'm with being a foreman. Sorry, I was kind of a bit more indisposable. Like we need a foreman and a gang down here for a couple of weeks. Go there. Whereas now I'm going to be in the management area. I'm hoping that I settle down with a job and I run it until its completion. And while I'm there, I can like go, hey, this is in the area. I might get a year out of it. And while I'm there for a year, because I've already got my background anyway, so I might be able to do some bike training and get some more fights behind me because I enjoy it. I loved it.
That makes a lot of sense. I had a friend who also his dad was a construction manager. So exactly, like every few years she'd move around. They'd move where the work was. So I totally understand it now.
I mean, yeah, hopefully I find some new places to go and some arts of thing. Just one thing to add, like as a little caveat, is sort of like the worst art I've ever trained. I always want to get this out there is out of all like the kung fu stuff I've trained, which have all been like some wishy-washy, some okay with some sparring in it, all the like karate, taekwondo, and all that other stuff. I think the worst art I've ever trained is Krav Maga.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's definitely end on this, dude. Tell me about your training with Krav Maga.
Because to be honest, I came in with an open mind for Krav as well. So I'd heard bad things, I'd heard good things, but in my eyes, I thought, I'm going to work in there. It's going to be almost like MMA in its way because that seems like makes more sense to me. It's going to be MMA with a few like weapon defense stuff, not quite as focused on the scrapping, and some, some self-defense, scenario-based, watching round you, making sure. So, all right, then I contact the gym and I go there, right, and it's in like a little school hall. And there are quite enough people, but I get in there and they're all polite enough, and I stand there like this, ready for me. Instructor said, right, we're going to do some jogging, right? No, this. No, don't be so informal. It's not a martial art, right? No worries. And then we get to doing training and that, and it's like no one seems to know what they're doing at this point. Like there's some bloke who I get caught with says, well, what do you want to do? Oh, what do you want to do, mate? It's my first day. You show me. So fetch you some punching pads out. He says, well, learn some punching. All right, great. Gets the punching pads out. So I drop into a stance, like, yeah, pom, pom, pom. And like, no, that's the martial art. We're not doing martial art. We're doing self-defense. Okay. So pad up. Says, you need to have your hands like this. And you need to stand like stock, like you not a foot behind you, need to stand like straight. And then it's punch and punch. Same side paddle. And I like ask him why. He says, well, if you're in like a fight, you won't jump into stance.
Yes, I would. Yes, I would.
I'm sat there like, let me just move back. I'm like, if I'm in a fight, like I'm not. Someone walks up to me in the pub and I go ah. If someone walks up to me in a pub for a scrap, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop back.
Yeah,
can't do it. Or even if I didn't drop up back to a fist, I'd drop that like something that looks friendly enough, but I can, if someone throws a punch, I can get me on and I can like get round them. I'm not going to stand there like stop. I don't need it, mate. Sorry. For one, I've just made myself a massive target because the ball's going to think, well, this guy's a wimp. I've got an easy fate here.
Yeah.
I mean, just a little side note before I go back. I would think, right, it's contrary to what they were saying. If someone came up to me mouthing off and I dropped back like that, right, fair enough, pal. I think that'd get me out of the fight before the even punching happened because he might go like, this guy seems to have no idea what he's doing. Maybe I don't want this. Someone goes like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about show. It's almost like he's telling you to show fear.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like, oh, back off, mate, back off, and then you got the punch.
Jeez.
Yeah, what if he stacks up me? He might have punched me in the face. I even got the chance for that.
Yeah.
But all sorts of caveats like that all the way through.
That sounds so bullshito. And the fact that you told me he's like punched the pads like this. What the heck?
like no one knew how to throw a punch, no one knew how to throw a kick. But I'll get back to that in a sec. But we're doing some basic like weapon things, and it felt so rigid. Like, no, you need to catch it like this and catch it like that. Why don't I just like, if he's got his arm, why don't I just double leg him? Oh no, you don't want to be wrestling and going to the ground. I don't have to go to the ground. He can mind. I might just run off. I don't have to go down with him when I drop him. Like, no, this is Krav Maga. At the same time, they're going, there's no rules. Okay, no rules. But so it's okay. In fact, that was one of the things I actually did as well. Like he kind of like pulled the button up and went, right, what will you do here? So went straight to go on top and start like pretending to like thing. I'm like, no, that's not crap. What's the message here, mate? I learned to
So
defend
he's
myself.
telling you if not to hit with the bottle in a self-defense situation, basically.
Not to go for the double leg and get him down and start thing because that's not Krav Maga.
Oh my goodness.
No, maybe it was just a Krav Maga gym, or that's just how they all are. But one thing I did notice, they had a massive stigma against like martial arts in general.
What?
It felt very weird. Like they were almost like shunning me, like almost like belittling me because like, no, this isn't martial arts, this is the real stuff. But at the same time, no one knew how to throw a punch or a kick, like even like basic throwing punches or kicks. But we're also doing moves where they've had to throw punches or kicks. No, it just looked weird. They were like really awkward in how they moved, attacked. They were doing ground fighting, but they didn't know how to do it, and it was so bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how to describe. Like, I'll say this, right? I don't want to sound like I'm cocky or arrogant or like I think I'm the baddest man on the planet, but it took, after all these years of training martial arts, right? All these years hanging around with tough people and being beaten up and all that stuff, it took me walking into that room to realize how much of a dangerous individual I am. I sat there looking, thinking, I could kill every single one of these people in this room and there'd be nothing they could do about it. Because there's no, and these guys are here, like, it's not like, the thing is, right, I'll say this. I've defended Kungfu and Karate and Taekwondo. I mean, they've got good stuff with it, but I've defended the fact that if you want to learn something just because it looks cool and interesting and fun, fair enough. But Krav isn't doing that. That's not the point of it. The point of Krav Maga is to teach you self-defense. And if you're learning that, it's not teaching you anything. You're going to die. If you're learning that for self-defense, I'm sorry, mate, you're going to get hurt. It's just baffling, like, what insane to think of it. But the fella at end, like, I mean, I just started doing my own stuff because it got so daft and weird that, like, the combinations I was doing just felt like dropping down. I like sat there thinking, all this dude has to do is put his hand on my head and I'm doing nothing. Or, wouldn't it just be easier just to get him in a clinch? Yeah, I just started doing my own stuff because it just felt so nonsensical.
Yeah.
A lot of the movesets I was teaching just felt against any sort of, like, I wouldn't say common sense, but any, it just wasn't practical. Yeah. Stuff you just normally just clinch up would be easy enough, but but the fella comes round and says, oh, I see he was doing some Thai stuff. Like, yeah, no worries. Says, yeah, we take a lot of moves from Thai boxing. That's great, mate, but you don't take the attitude. It's okay, like, trying to replicate a move set, but you have to replicate the attitude as well. Thai boxing isn't seen as like being as good as it is because it's got cool moves. It's seen as good as it is because it's the school of hard knocks. You go there, you're getting your head kicked in for a bit until you're good at it. You know, it's not that there's anything special about a Thai knee or a Thai elbow or a Thai leg kick. It's not that it's anything special about a Thai punch or a Thai anything else. It's the mindset that's special about it.
Yeah.
And these guys don't have it. All right, you might try and pretend to do a knee, but you're not teaching people to do knees. Well, the most bizarre experience in my life, and I thought, this is the most, everything I've done, this is the worst art I've ever tried.
Did the instructor look like he was at least fit?
He looked a big, tall fella. Or he looked lean, not lean, he looked built, but not like, you know, it does look like he might have done some karate in his past, but it looked just big.
I see. I see.
Yeah,
It's so interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think Krav Maga schools are very, very different depending on the school. Right? Krav Maga is like Wing Chun. You can actually that's not the right because there you can get good Krav Maga. Krav Maga maybe it's like Choi Li Fu. It's like you can get good Choi Li Fu schools or you can get bad Choi Li Fu schools, but it's like the obscurity, the I don't know. I don't know how to describe Krav, but I've never heard a Krav experience that bad like what you described. But I definitely have seen Krav Maga gyms that are almost looking more like CrossFit. But I just, yeah, it's. Is that gym still around, by the way? The Krav Maga gym you went
yeah,
to?
it's still around. I'm not going to name it because I'm not
Yeah,
an asshole.
exactly.
Oh, but yeah, it's still around. And
Hmm.
probably the fella might watch this and not be very happy with me. But,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it sounds like he was teaching you bullshido, man.
But I mean, they were sat there like some of the guys after like says, "Oh, your reflexes are so fast." And I'm like, "I'm not the best. I ain't got the best reflexes."
You just
But
have
it's just
pressure test. It's
yeah.
just, yeah.
So I can see punches coming because I'm used to like fast punches coming. So what you're throwing at me, I'll dodge all day. I can close my eyes and do it.
Yeah.
But I think the problem is with Krav Maga, especially, I don't know if it's the same around the world, but in England at least, is anyone can teach it legally. There's no,
Oh. Ooh.
there's no vetting at all. And two, I can get a Krav Maga training certificate, Bob, probably while I'm talking to you now, you can just buy them
Wow.
and pay for a Krav Maga certificate online. And because there's no real hierarchy. There's no real control, quality control at all.
Hmm.
I could just walk in there and say, right, I'm a Krav Maga instructor
Wow.
and teach whatever I've done in the past, if anything. It's sort of like the same with, I think we've ranted about it before, is box fit or fitness boxing or
Yeah, fitness
boxercise.
boxing. Yeah.
Because you can do the exact same here as well. You can, the art and training program it's called over here. And all you do is you do some online videos and then you get a certificate to say that you can train boxing. And then you do get some people that have gone to these like boxer size classes and go, yeah, I'm a boxer. You know, I'm a boxing instructor. No, you're not, mate. No, you're not. You don't. I'm sorry, mate, but you don't deserve to put yourself in that sort of like level of authority against people that have went and bled for that
Yeah.
and know what they're doing. You're going to get somebody hurt.
Man, that's just it's so funny because I think there is a time and a place for boxercise, just like there's a time and a place for people that want to learn traditional martial arts, right? But you have to be honest about it. If you're like, dude, we're just having fun working out. Maybe you're learning how to throw a punch, but it's not even throwing a punch under pressure. Like you have to tell them. Like one time, I was just playing around. Like, of course, it's some girl, right? So I'm like showing her some pad stuff, and I kept explaining to her like, this is just having fun, okay? You're not learning real boxing or anything. And they kept being like, why are you talking so much? I'm like, because I have a moral obligation to not develop false confidence with you. We're just having fun. You're learning how to throw a punch. There's a very famous, I'll send you the video. Um, there's this girl who like probably did like fitness kickboxing in China or fitness Muay Thai. So like some guy, drunk dude on a motorcycle in China mouths off to her. So she actually throws a good teep at him while he's on the motorcycle. So he's parked, right? He's trying to get in his motorcycle to go off. She throws a good teep on him, and he knocks him off the motorcycle. And like maybe this is the time she just walk away, but she actually. I don't remember if she hits him another time or something. I think she does. But what ends up happening is he's wearing a toupee, knocks his headpiece off. Now he's mad. So, it's the guy beer strength, man. Just like he beats her up pretty bad. It's pretty
Weight
bad.
classes are there for a reason. Just don't lie to yourself about that as well.
Yeah, but she probably took like fitness kickboxing or fitness Muay Thai and she thought she was cool. And it's like, a guy mouthed off to you, so what? Like, that's unfortunately just how society is. Not everything people say is going to agree with you.
My old kickboxing coach Mick used to say something to us just to keep us all grounded from the people that sparred and people that didn't. He said, if you don't spar, you're not a kickboxer.
Yeah.
If you don't fight, you're not a kickboxer. What you're doing is kickboxing training. If you're hitting the pads and you're running around, you're doing kickboxing training. But unless you spar and fight, you are not a kickboxer. Yeah,
I like that a
absolutely
lot.
great, man, great speech. Because
Yeah.
that puts you straight in the mindset. Like, no, that's true. I mean, I'm punching the pads. It's not the same thing. I mean, I've seen people who are really good at punching pads and can't. As soon as you put that pressure on them, they're just,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh God, I've got someone punching at me now. I don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah. It's a funny story you mentioned because I also know a guy. He trains at a Kempo school. He was training at a Kempo school when I met him. Couldn't complete any of the katas ever. You know, American Kempo has a lot of katas, right? But man, very few people. One of the assistant instructors could beat him in sparring, but nobody else could beat him in sparring. He was wild. So then it's like, you think about like your example and my example, bringing it full circle, right? Everyone's journey is different. So you just have to be honest with yourself. Okay, am I trying to learn the kata to look pretty? Or am I trying to learn to fight? Am I trying to just get some exercise? You got to be, as an instructor, as a student, you have to be honest with yourself and other people.
Just be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And take the joy out of it. There's another thing about martial arts, which I don't know how to put this. And it's why I kind of don't like when it's advertised as self-defense, although I get it because, like, it looks good on the poster. I mean, most of the places I train, I'll also put it on there because it sounds good. But I think as part of like ways of self-defense, I think you're almost wasting your money because maybe this is more of an England-centric thing, but worst that's going to happen is someone mugs you. What are you going to do? Give me your wallet. What's the point? Right. How long does it take to get good at martial arts? What, 3 years, 4 years of constant training? So how much is that going to cost? A fair deal of money. I keep 20 quid in my pocket at most times. And my phone I can get recovered. My cards I can get recovered. So you sort of like your best bet for stuff like that is just to just give the bloody wallet away. If you're training purely for self-defense purposes, it's a waste of money.
Yeah.
Train it because you love it. Train because you enjoy it. Train because you want to compete. Train because it's fit or looks fun. But if it's for self-defense, I think there's better avenues. You probably could do a seminar and learn enough little bits and bobs, and that's it. It just doesn't seem like it's worth the money to me. I might be wrong on that. It might be a controversial statement, but maybe it's like there's a psycho killer coming after you. But in my eyes, right, if a psycho killer's coming after you, you're probably buggered anyway. The looks run out on you. it's a up to chance at that point anyway. I get that a lot with what if there's a group of people? Buggered.
Yeah.
Probably no better or worse off than before.
Take the money, learn to really run or do parkour well. See, in the U.S., we have a way around it, which is go learn to shoot a gun, right? But that doesn't apply in countries where they don't have the right to bear arms. So,
but also, I'm not going to get shot. So there's a 50-50 with that. Yeah. You get shot in England, you've done something.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There's no random bystanders get shot not very often, because it takes too long to get hold of a gun. And if you do get hold of a gun, you shoot someone, there's a lot of heat on you, because there's not going to be people there on. It's going to bring it down straight on you.
Yeah, exactly.
But you make a good point there. Parkour's probably your best self-defense you're ever going to get. Yeah. Parkour and running, jogging on a morning.
I had a friend who's actually been on my channel that he used to live in Venice. And, you know, Venice is always a really weird area in L.A. And I remember one time he saw probably a few gang members. I think he knew they were probably after him, so he just hopped the fence. You know, his version of parkour, he just hopped the fence and escaped them.
Running is probably what best self-defense you can do. Yeah. Get out there. You win all the fights you don't have.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a very interesting statement you made, and I never thought about it, but it makes sense, right? If you're just taking martial arts for self-defense, because of everything that martial arts have besides just the self-defense component. To get proficient at self-defense, if you're really just taking martial arts lessons, it probably does take a while. So imagine all that money you spent versus the money, let's say you get robbed and you just give up for your wallet. It's probably, like, I've never thought about it from that finance perspective, but yeah, you should go into martial arts for a little bit more than just learning self-defense. That's a really interesting thing you said.
I mean, a 12-month membership round is somewhere between 350 to 500 quid, roughly, depending on the gym, right? So that takes you 3 years to get good at it. Plus all other little things like paying for grading and paying for like other sorts of stuff. So
Injuries,
it's altogether $2,000. Who's walking around with £2,000 in the pocket with a gear? Maybe it might have on the Visa card, but you can cancel that.
Yeah.
And you can claim the money back.
Yeah.
Your phone, it's a phone. You've probably got insured anyway. You're walking around with 20, 30 quid in your pocket. Just here you go, mate. Tell you what, have the 20 quid and my phone and my wallet and whatever else. See you later, pal. Yeah. Yeah. We're both happy now, aren't we? You've got your stuff. I'm going to go home and cry.
Yeah, exactly. The joke the economist makes, right? Like, as in a person who studied economics or a person who wants to make fun of an economist, is that the economist would say, well, if you ever get robbed, let's say they have a knife, just be like, okay, I'll give you my money. We'll do an exchange. You throw the knife down, you go. So I buy your knife. That's what economists would say. Or like in America, if someone points a gun to you, be like, okay, just take out the bullets. Okay, all right. You take my wallet. I'll take your gun.
You can go. The wallet, me the gun. With the wallet.
Exactly. That's why I said you have to take out the bullet, right? Because, yeah, if you didn't take out the bullet, it's like, okay, yeah, okay, all right, now you give me the wallet. Two economists would endlessly rob each other if it were two economists.
I'm thinking as well, do you know what? Hands down, right, I think the best self-defense method is getting pumped.
Yeah, 100%. Just looking like you can throw down is way more effective.
Because I'm the least intimidating looking bloke on this planet, right? So
I'm even more unintimidating, bro.
I'm not an intimidating bloke, even though I could probably kick a lot of bottom. I can fight, and I know I can fight, right? But there's fellas in the gym who I go past who probably can't fight their way out of a wet paper bag. But you won't want to say that to him. You ain't walking up to a guy who's built like, Arnold and going, right, pal, hand me your wallet or getting drunk and picking. He's the last person I was picking a fight with because it's just that big. You look intimidating enough. I think there's even like a post on Facebook used to go around. I don't know which. Like showing like an MMA fighter. I don't know who it was. It might have been Ben Askren or something. Next to like someone jacked and like, would you believe that the guy on the left can beat the guy on the right?
Oh yeah. I've seen similar memes like that.
Yeah, but I believe it because I do martial arts. But Joe Bloggs it'd probably start with the guy on the left before he starts with the guy on the right.
Yeah.
Get yourself in shape. Get yourself ripped and big.
Yep.
And one, if it does go down to a fight, you probably can hit better than the random drunk who's going to fight you. And two, if it goes into a bit of a grapple, you're physically stronger, so you're going to rag them about. And three, no one's going to pick a fight with you. You look huge.
Yep.
You're going to take a look at you.
Very, very true.
That guy, that's suicide. I'll walk on and see if I can pick someone a bit easier than the jacked guy with the ripped tank top and the guy who looks like he eats me as his calorie deficit.
Yeah. So getting really buff, right? Getting fit, and then having good parkour, running skills, and verbal judo, being able to talk people. If someone's yelling at you, being able to calm them down, right? It's not just calming them down. If you mess with their OODA loop, it's very effective too. So I remember one time when all that lockdown BS was happening, one guy was trying to start something with me because I wasn't wearing a mask. A bald white guy, probably in his 50s, trying to impress his younger girlfriend. So you know what I did? Instead of yelling back or even trying to calm him down, I'm just like, oh, you're being racist. And he's like, it shook him out of his aggression. He's like,
took and clean out it again.
I was like, you're being racist. And he's like, so verbal judo is important, but also being able to think outside the box when it comes to interaction. Sometimes the best way to get someone to step out of his to cringe them out, or just like there's a famous clip. You can find this if you guys ever get curious to like the weird side of YouTube. But like these people do these pranks, and then when people get mad, they'll like take off their pants, show their underwear, and then people are like, "Okay, I'm not dealing with this. I'm not fighting you."
Speaking of that, one of my mates at the Submission MMA where I train typically, he has a little thing where when he's grappling you and he's got you down there, he starts like whispering stuff into your ear. Just like random questions, and you sat there like it'll ask you like a trivia question.
Wow.
And you sat there like trying to roll with him, and it's also in your head like thinking, what can swim faster, a dog or a horse? And every time like you're working it out, now you're distracted. He's just turning you into a pretzel.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Khabib, when he grappled, Khabib would whisper stuff. He'd be very vocal when he would grapple with the people that he was also ragdolling, of course. But yeah, there's a lot to be said about both verbal judo and then just outside the box communication that can really help you in a lot of situations. I'll tell you, my last example with this, like, unfortunately, America's had a lot of mass shootings, right? And there's especially the case Texas A&M. There was a guy who like was on a tower sniping people. It was really bad. He was military trained too, but when he first went up the building to sort of establish his location, he stumbled on this couple that he didn't off, and the couple after the fact were like, yeah, I don't know why we rubbed him right, but we were just very happy. We were in love, and we were just sort of like, we smiled at him, said hi. So like these kind of like communication things are very important. Like, the guy was, he was gonna do all these bad, heinous things, but he saw this very loving, positive couple, and he's like, okay, I'm not gonna do anything to them, right? So like, I'm giving these extreme examples because you got to think outside the box, especially when there's situations that people could get hurt or maybe even life or death. And knowing how to throw a better punch is not always the best. It's a good tool, but it might not be the most optimal tool.
I think Ramsey Dewey actually mentioned this a few times as well. Like, I don't want to be parroting him, but it's the one that makes more sense. If you're in a fight, you've messed up.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything's gone wrong. If you're throwing punches, all the other steps have gone wrong first.
Yeah.
You couldn't talk your way out of it. Or the guy who you're now fighting with just wasn't interested in communication. Yeah. Sometimes, because I used to get mad at this at school as well, like you fighting in school and stuff like that, and like, teachers always say, "Well, there's no need to fight and pacifist and all this, and couldn't you just talk you out of it?" Some people you just can't be talked out of things.
Yeah, exactly.
They walked in there ready for a fight, and no amount of reasoning or being kind or reasonable. I said reasonable twice, but no amount of that's going to even affect them or phase them. They've come there for a fight.
Yeah.
And at that point, knowing how to throw a punch in the face is going to help you. It's probably why boxing is the best thing to learn, or wrestling, boxing or wrestling. Don't go to the ground. What if he's got mates? What if I've got mates? That's another one I hate. Like, what if don't take someone to the ground in a street fight? What if his mate comes up and runs up and kicks you in the face? I don't tend to go out on myself. If I'm out on the town having a few drinks, I've probably got a load of mates with me as well. Yeah. And most of my friends are also, people that train. So if that guy runs up and kicks me in the face, I think he's not going to be using a leg for a long time after.
Yeah, and you mentioned another good thing, another thing that's just for life in general that a lot of people forgot these past years. Like, friendships are very important. That's a good self-defense. If you got a big Russian friend, people won't mess with you as much, right? I had a big Russian friend in Philly, man. He couldn't fight to save his life, but he was big and he was scary, and I hung out with him a lot. So,
again, best self-defense is to look scary.
Yeah.
Look like a guy no one wants to have a scrap with. Most of the time, outside like pure lunatics, you're gonna get away with it. I mean, there's people out there who think they can fake Chuck Liddell, so there's always going to be that one outlier. But
yeah. One time, the Russian friend in the basketball court, something happened, and he got punched in the face, and everyone held my Russian friend back instead of the guy who punched him in the face because they were afraid my Russian friend was gonna destroy and kill the guy. But like he got assaulted and they're like, "Oh my god, scary Russian guy, hold him back!" My Russian friend's like, "What's going on? I just got punched in the face. Why are you holding me back?"
Everybody sat there and they're thinking, if this Russian bloke hits him, he's pissed.
Yeah, yeah.
He's got that wall like the Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah.
He's leaving us.
Yeah.
He's not stopping till there's at least 3 floors in. Whoops.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Lots of great stuff we talked about, man. So I think it's a good point to end it. I think we should definitely do more of these talks. And I'm really curious too. I encourage you. You know, you do have a YouTube channel, and of course, I'll link it in the description and pinned comments. But you should upload more. Just every place you go to, at least like upload a little. Oh, hey, check this out. I think it would be really cool to document every place you've gone to.
Thought about doing that, you know. I even fetched my camera down and I was kind of chickened out and asking. But in my head, I like thinking, oh, Fight Quest have done this and Human Weapon did this. Am I any better than them guys? That would kind of like.
The thing is, a lot of those shows were too. What's the word? They were produced too vanilla. Like some of their scenarios weren't even real, and then they simplified and cut. You know, so like I think there's still a need for something more genuine. I think sort of Ruckus was doing a little bit of that. You know, congrats to his success, he found this ultimate self-defense thing. But when I first started my YouTube channel, before I even had fight commentary breakdowns, I thought about maybe I'd be the guy to just go around and document. But for me, the problem with me is I get bogged down on trying to edit it, make it look good. And then it's like, well, then I'm not any different than if I produce Human Weapon or whatever. So yeah, I think there's like this need for, you would call like democratized type of like dojo documenting. I think it's very important. And what I found and what sort of made my channel thrive is I documented like I guess you would call it the democratized martial arts pressure testing, right? Like I purposely find the stuff that's not UFC because that stuff's the most interesting. And now, like, if we get 20 more years of this footage, we have an archive of all this. So then in 20 years, our kids or grandkids hopefully won't have to deal with as much of the BS arguments because they have 20 years of archival footage to show people, right? We have all these stories, even in the 90s, 2000s, of all these challenges going on, but they weren't documented. But we have all of this now, and a lot of it is I'm bringing it to people.
I think that's some of my favourite videos of yours are them. I mean, the video that fetched me to your channel was the Wing Chun versus MMA. I think it was, what's his name now? He was getting a lot of flack for it.
Yeah, the Shu Xiaodong guy.
Yeah, you know, that one, I think it was Shu Xiaodong. That way, there's the Wing Chun guy who's wearing white and he comes in and it's like a red stage behind.
Yeah, yep, that's the Shu Xiaodong one. Yeah, he comes in, he first is wearing Wing Chun, but then a few more punches and his hands are up.
Honestly, do you know what my favourite video of yours is? Is that black and white one with the two Kung Fu masters.
Oh yeah, but they're fighting like this.
I spent this whole time, right? That's my go-to one when people say, "Oh well, what it is Kung Fu's kind of just lost its edge because back in the day, it was the real. It's just like being bogged down with commercialism." I go like that. Copy paste.
Yeah, exactly.
There's always been a thing, and also it's like it's fun how the second someone they're doing all the fancy stuff, like the fancy like Matrix moves, and the second one gets punched, and the other one gets punched, it's immediately down to like just a brawl, like really, really, really bad kickboxing where people like all these like cool moves without it, like really like pulling his hand back, like like he's in a fight in middle of town, like outside a pub.
Yeah, that 1954 fight was the best pub fight ever.
I love it. That's my favourite video of yours. I mean, that's the one I go to all the time, just like go.
Yeah, when people say, in my best commentaries playlist, I put that one there too because whenever I think of that one, it just makes me laugh. Like everything about that video was perfect for just unexpected comedy.
Well, that's fantastic, mate. It's been a good run anyway. But another thing, sorry, we're just back to YouTube channel, and I haven't produced a lot there in a while, and I think there's a bit of insecurity with me when it comes to it because I don't believe I have enough knowledge or have enough authority to like make videos on martial arts. There's always had that in like biting in my head. Like, do I really, you know, who am I to tell people what's good and what's bad when it comes to martial arts? So that's always like delved into my head, like, because I've never got a black belt in anything. So I'm no master. I'm just a guy who really enjoys martial arts and will happily get in a scrap every now and again. There's that going on.
Yeah, true. I will say that's enough for most people, right? So I know because you and I live this world, so there's always this like, oh my God, there's so much to learn. But the average person isn't ever even going to learn one thing about this, right?
Hmm.
So I think that's where we're kind of up against. It's like the average person, and this the reason why there's so many dumb comments is the average person won't even take one lesson. So
Hmm.
that makes us way more qualified than we think. Even though I even have moments where I'm like, man, like I want to learn Taekwondo. I've never taken a Taekwondo lesson. I want to learn Taekwondo. It's like I want to learn every martial art too, just a little bit, just to be able to commentate better, right? I mean, that's why I started learning chess because with chess boxing, I realized I don't know chess, so I started, and then chess became something more. Like I really like chess now. But like that's the thing. Like our mentality's good in that it keeps us learning. It is bad in that sometimes we don't realize how qualified we already are compared to people that aren't as
Yeah.
good. And so that's the only thing I'll pass on to you. It's like I think if you had a channel and just maybe every school you go to just talk about it. Like that would be so cool because all the schools you talked about in the UK, like I would love to hear your experience. Like I would love to see a video on every single school you've gone to and like your experience, maybe some pictures, and if you get some video, show some videos. Like that's how I picture a series for you. So
That's a fair comment. I might try that after Christmas. I'll see if, because maybe some gyms might not want to film in there, but I might see which ones will do sparring with me and see if they'll let me film sparring and stuff like that and going from there. I wanted to at some point, but it never came off. Or going to invite people to my front garden where I sparred with my brother and see if anybody wants to just have a couple friendly matches or stuff. Any martial art, but it's just this isn't the
mm-hmm.
this isn't the market around here. I mean, Barnsley's a small place. It's not that varied of arts and people that want to actually get punched in the face. All they'd probably end up with is a load of kickboxers. And we know what kickboxing versus kickboxing fight looks like. We've seen it. It's not fun.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, dude, let's continue and we'll do more conversations in the future. So, everyone, this was Steven. This was a really fun conversation. I just knew, he's the type of guy, kind of like, he really is like a UK version of me. Like, we could sit down and just talk at a bar about martial arts for hours. And that's what Fight Commentary Breakdowns at the end of the day was, right? And that's why it has its appeal. And I think Steven's got a similar appeal. So, I think Steven could be like the UK Fight Commentary Breakdowns.
I'd love to, mate, but I ain't got your swag.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. So, everyone, Steven, and this was Fight Commentary Breakdowns.